Good morning, televiewers on my Media Prime Television. Here on to the last edition of The Brief, live on my Media Prime Television, a program where we always get to dig several layers beneath the major headlines as captured by newspapers. It is your favorite program, the bilingual program, where we always have our guests for us to talk on what the newspapers are carrying in the country. On today's edition of the program, the newspapers are focusing on the recent outing of Connacht Boss in the east region of the country while launching the 2022-2023 academic year. Connacht Boss, due the name Sigamsa, says education is the most corrupt sector of the Republic of Cameroon. We shall dwell on that and many other headlines, especially the issue of land in Douala that some newspapers captured some days ago. We are talking about Lasha newspaper that is or did an investigative report on that issue of land grabbing in the littoral region of the country, where some locals have had to lose their land to an individual who purportedly wanted to develop the area, as we are told by Lasha newspaper. And we will have with us Bona. Bona will be here. He's an active member of the PCR and political party to talk more on that issue. Glwadys Bomotonguina is also here with me. Let's have the headlines in the French language newspapers. Bonjour Glwadys.
Bonjour Lasha. Bonjour à vous, fidèles téléspectateurs de My Media Prime Télévision, et merci de nous retrouver aussi nombreux pour cette dernière édition de Débrief, votre émission bilingue de revue de presse. Alors ce matin, nous débutons avec l'œil du Sahel qui nous parle de la ville de Bogo au Cameroun. En effet, l'œil du Sahel nous précise qu'il y a plus de 5000 déplacés dans cette partie du pays qui sont menacés par la famine. Les détails sont donc en page 4 de l'œil du Sahel ce matin. À sa page 10, le journal nous parle de Kolfata. La ville de Kolfata est donc dans le noir depuis 2014. En page 4, le journal nous parle de Marois 3e vers une fronde des conseillers municipaux contre le maire de la ville. En page 11, le journal L'œil du Sahel nous parle du maillot Sava, des manifestations des populations contre Boko Haram. En page 5, toujours de l'œil du Sahel, le journal nous parle de l'autonomisation des femmes, des kits scolaires pour 30 000 filles. Nous poursuivons, mesdames et messieurs, ce matin avec Émergence Quotidien. Émergence Quotidien parle en grand titre des produits alimentaires au Cameroun et les prix qui s'envolent donc davantage. Les derniers rapports de l'Institut national de la statistique inquiètent. Donc les détails sont en page 3 d'Émergence Quotidien ce matin. À sa page 8, le journal nous parle de la filière cacao. Le Sud-Ouest concentre donc 31,2% des achats. En page 2, le journal nous parle de Goïla, près de 1000 cartes nationales d'identité établi aux populations locales. En page 3, le journal nous parle de la région du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest, mais aussi de l'extrême nord Cameroun. Le président de la République, son Excellence Paul Biya, prescrit donc la poursuite de la reconstruction. Nous continuons, mesdames, messieurs, ce matin avec Mutation Quotidien. Mutation Quotidien parle en grand titre de la décentralisation sous perfusion. En effet, le journal précise que le chef de l'État prescrit donc à nouveau un meilleur transfert des ressources aux collectivités territoriales décentralisées. Les détails sont donc en page 8 et 9 de Mutation Quotidien ce matin. À sa page 5, le journal nous parle de logements sociaux au Cameroun, l'impasse de Mbanga Mpongo. En page 6, le journal nous parle de la grève des enseignants. OTS prépare donc sa rentrée scolaire. Nous clôturons ce matin avec le journal Le Jour. Le journal Le Jour nous parle en grand titre de la grève des médecins, des personnels de santé. En effet, le journal nous révèle ce matin qu'en 9 ans, 10 préavis de grève des personnels de santé ont été présentés au gouvernement. Suite à la toute dernière, donc, le ministre de la Santé publique a promis de satisfaire dans 4 mois les exigences de meilleures conditions de travail. Les détails sont donc en page 2 et 3 du journal Le Jour ce matin. À sa page 5, le journal journal nous parle de la ville de Bazou. Des sous-traitants donc des néos sont séquestrés dans cette partie du pays. En page 9, le journal Le Jour nous parle du classement de la FIFA. Le Cameroun reste donc à la 38e position. Nous restons toujours dans le journal Le Jour à sa page 4. Le journal nous parle des enfants de Dikolo qui veulent donc aller à l'école. Mesdames, Messieurs, voilà pour vos titres ce matin en langue française. Place à la découverte des titres en langue française avec toi, Lasha.
Thank you, Glwadys Bomotonguina. Let's kickstart this morning with the Loon English Daily. The Guardian Post newspaper, the Guardian Post this morning is telling us that President Paul Biya is playing the tortoise with Russia-Ukraine war. According to the paper, the President of the Republic of Cameroon has written to the Ukrainian president praying for peace, stability to return after refusing to vote in favor of Russia's withdrawal from Ukraine. The paper tells us further that after failing to publicly condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine, President Paul Biya has now written to the Ukraine leader expressing hopes for a return of peace and stability in the troubled Eastern European country or nation. Since the outbreak of the Russia-Ukraine war, Yaoundé has remained mute on the conflict which has been crippling the global economy. More details on page 3 of this edition of the Guardian Post newspaper. And the Guardian Post is also telling us on page 3 that Biya has authorized the government to borrow over 200 billion francs CFA for developmental projects. The President of the Republic of Cameroon, according to the paper, okayed the borrowing of an additional 200 billion francs CFA to finance several developmental projects in the country. The go-ahead was given Tuesday via a presidential decree signed by the head of state, President Paul Biya. According to the decree signed on August 23, 2022, the said fresh funds are intended to finance developmental projects in the country. We continue to talk other burning issues, this time around what Konak boss said in the east region of the country at launch of back to school campaign in Betwa. Konak boss says education most corrupt sector in Cameroon. The president of the National Anti-Corruption Commission, Konak, Reverend Dr. Diodene Masigams, has revealed that the education sector, according to him, is the most corrupt in the country. Dr. Reverend Masigams was speaking, like I earlier mentioned, Wednesday, August 24, 2022, while launching a week-long campaign for a free and a transparent resumption of classes for the 2022-2023 academic year, August 23 in Betwa, in the east region of the country. More details on page 11 of this edition of the Guardian Post newspaper. On to municipal updates. Municipal updates newspaper this morning is focusing on Fon Mokete the fourth Ekoko, who is the paramount ruler of the Bafos people in the southwest region of the country. The paper tells us that Fon Mokete the fourth Ekoko is keeping father's legacy alive, and in just 2 years on the throne, this refined traditional ruler of a distinct rating has, like his father, the revered statesman, Senator from V.E. Mokete, now in heavenly bliss, continued to lead the Bafo and the people of Kumba in unique way. More details on page 2 of this edition of the Municipal Updates newspaper. On to the Eagle's Eye. The Eagle's Eye this morning is focusing on the internal functioning of the National Assembly. Missions of the Economic Committee of the National Assembly as captured by the Eagle's Eye newspaper this morning. You can read more in this edition of the newspaper. We end this morning with Actu Info newspaper. Actu Info newspaper this morning is focusing on the scandal concerning land title in Bonadibong in the littoral region of the country. The newspaper of the PCR and political party when investigating what actually happened, testimonies on how the irregularities or those who want to acquire land illegally in Bonadibong, as the newspaper puts it. You can read more in this edition of Actu Info newspaper, as the paper is bringing to us this morning the scandal surrounding land titles in that part of the littoral region of the country. We are back in the studio to continue with our discussions this morning, and we are receiving one of the active members of the PCRN political party, who happens to be one of the editors of the Actu Info newspapers. He is joining us this morning. Good morning, sir, and welcome.
Good morning, Lasha. Good morning to Glwadys, and of course, good morning to all the TV viewers.
It's been long, eh? You're back again.
Yes, it's a pleasure. The truth is that I am a little bit busy this time around, and then
okay.
As I was, they asked me to be here, and then I decided to come.
Okay.
Even though the truth is too heavy,
Yeah.
I think that it's normal to
Say
be on the air
and to say the truth.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll give you time to talk about the scandal, what is happening at Bonadibong. And as you rightly said, you've been designated to come talk about the issues. And the newspaper, your newspaper this morning is zooming on that. Meanwhile, Maitre Alex Ndive is also joining us on the line to the UK. Maitre Alex, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Lasha. Good morning, Bomotonguina, Glwadys. I'm sure I've learned to pronounce your name now. I've taken some couple of months to learn how to pronounce it. So, and good morning, Mr. Tebong. When Mr. Tebong is there, we have good sound. Good morning to your entire team and to your panelists and the beautiful people of the Cameroons. It's always a pleasure to be on your program to dissect and diagnose and review the newspaper in the Cameroons.
Yes, Maitre Alex, we begin with the Guardian Post newspaper this morning with these two very important headlines. One has to do with a decree that was signed by President Paul Biya authorizing government to borrow 200 billion francs CFA for developmental projects in the country. And another has to do with what CONAC boss said in Betwa while launching the 2022-2023 academic year. He said the education sector is the most corrupt sector in Cameroon.
I won't talk about education sector being corrupt. I'll talk about President Paul Biya, the president of La République du Cameroon, appointed corrupt people like Abba, Desiré Engo, Titus Edouard, Atanga Nakwa, Mendoze, and the other people. If there is corruption in Cameroon, we have a criminal justice system. The police should investigate the people. They should stand trial. We don't want people to be talking, just talking, without doing action. A country have got institution. We have institution in Cameroon. I don't want to see civil servant politician coming to say education is the most corrupt system. It's not important. When there's corruption, when there's an alleged criminal offense, the police get in.
No, but that's an organization that has been given the mandate to fight corruption in the country. Maitre Alex, we are talking about an institution that is out to fight corruption.
Mr. Lasha,
yes.
I look at CONAC as a political institution. We need a criminal justice system where the local police will investigate crime. CONAC is a political system that when people embezzle COVID money or can money, they don't investigate them. Then they talk about immunity. Nobody is above the law. CONAC should not be investigating criminal cases. We need our local police officers who are impartial and they are not biased to investigate matter.
Maitre, don't you think? Why? So if President Paul Biya decides today to, transform CONAC into a criminal department, justice department, when it comes to investigating corruption, wouldn't you be happy? Or if police officers are incorporated into CONAC to start now acting and sanctioning?
Mr. Lasha, Mr. Biya will never fight corruption in Cameroon because I can quote Mr. Biya in English. Mr. Biya once said that people are corrupt because you are the one giving the money. So Mr. Biya have not got the political will to fight corruption. Mr. Biya have been appointing corrupt people to run our country. And again, part of your question, you said Mr. Biya have signed a presidential decree. Is it about for development? When you look at Mr. Biya signing this huge sum of money, it's for what? It's for the Aba to steal it. It's for Ondongdong. It's for Atakanakwa. It's for Desire Ego. It's for Titus Ezwa. You're putting money for them to steal it. Mr. Biya have not got a history of development. Under Mr. Biya, he talked about deep sea port until today, 30 years on and down. We have not seen anything. Ring road, nothing. So Mr. Biya haven't got that feeling and work for development. Mr. Biya is not somebody who loves development. Ever since Mr. Biya and Ahijo, their regime, they came together. What have we seen? Marketing board, down. You have Sotu, down. Kamaromba, down. Siko destroyed. Everything under Mr. Biya is a fact. I'm not making it up. You're a journalist. Mr. Biya is a product and agent of underdevelopment, and Mr. Biya will never develop Cameroon.
No, but he has people that he has appointed to champion the development. Do you expect to see him everywhere?
On your program, I've always made this clear to you. The buck stops with the leader. If I appoint you, Mr. Lasha, you get it wrong. It's me. It means I haven't got that judgment to be a leader. In the Western world, Western democracy, if I appoint people, like the list of the people I've named, you keep on putting Mendoza in prison, Mebengo in prison, Titi Seswa. It is you, Mr. Biya. You haven't got the judgment to put people who have got probity and integrity. The buck stops at a 2D. Mr. Biya should resign because he is the one putting people.
So, Metro, you are saying that. Are you saying that the 200 billion shouldn't be borrowed? That is money that will be wasted. So Cameroon should stop functioning because there are corrupt people in Cameroon. We should not move on with development.
Cameroon is not functioning. Cameroon is a failed state. I've given you a failed state, the definition on your program several times. The problem is that we need a change of leadership. We cannot have, ever since we have the so-called independent, the CNU that have been rebranded CPDM have been ruling, and all we have seen is destruction. We have gone back far behind. When I was a young boy, I was growing, power camp, they don't do wonder. We have street light. In Boya, there's nothing like that today as I used to grow. We used to have free medical facilities. When I was growing up, you go to hospital, you don't pay anything. Today you have to pay, and even hospital are prison today. So Mr. Biya, I accept that he has done his best. But his best is not good enough. It's time to put people with probity and integrity for us to have a new direction for our beloved country, the Cameroon.
Maître Alex, nous avons encore une autre dette de 200 milliards de francs CFA. On parle d'une dette qui va être sur la tête de tous les Camerounais. Est-ce qu'au jour d'aujourd'hui, les Camerounais en ont vraiment besoin? Est-ce que ces ministres qui sont en prison, qui ont volé de l'argent, qui ont détourné de l'argent, leurs comptes ne peuvent pas fournir ces 200 milliards de francs CFA?
I agree with you because there's something we call in the UK, Proceeds of Crime Act. When you're condemned, when you embezzle money under the Proceeds of Crime Act, they have to seize your property, they have to seize all the things that you have benefited from your criminal activity. I don't see that in Cameroon. On the contrary, I heard that if you give the money back, they have to release you from prison. Prison is a deterrent, it's to make sure you don't steal again. If you steal, you give the money back, it's dangerous. And at the end of the day, I always say, the greatest law in all the countries on earth is national interest. When we are in power, when we are sitting as a government in waiting, that all those debts will cancel it because we look at national interest. The people who keep on borrowing money to the government of Mr. Biya, they are wasting their time because under the law of national interest, we are going to cancel those debts, we are not going to pay it.
Okay, Metro Alex, we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you. Sabona, good morning and welcome once again. We are talking corruption and borrowing. Paul Biya has authorized the borrowing of 200 billion. According to him, the money will be used for developmental projects in Cameroon. What do you have to say to this? Before we
First of all, it's a good thing. It's a good decision. But the problem is that usually when those who are leaders of this country are using money, they don't use it for the good expectations.
Monsieur Bonan, on parle ici d'emprunter.
Oui,
200
oui,
milliards. Il n'a pas donné 200 milliards. Il permet
demande le ministre des
des
Finances
d'emprunter 200 milliards de francs CFA.
Oui, tout à fait.
Et est-ce que cet argent, au jour d'aujourd'hui, n'est pas une autre charge de plus sur les Camerounais?
C'est une façon de voir. Moi, je disais tantôt que c'était une bonne décision.
Ok.
Maintenant, le problème n'est pas à ce niveau. Le problème, c'est que généralement, quand ceux qui nous dirigent gèrent les finances, ça devient problématique parce que ce ne sont pas des modèles en termes de gestion. Monsieur parlait il y a quelques minutes de corruption et de détournement. Je crois que tout le monde sait que ce gouvernement, c'est un champion du monde dans le domaine. C'est ça véritablement le problème. Parce que,
mais les Camerounais continuent toujours à leur donner la confiance, non? De gérer. Continue to entrust the countries into their hands.
Dans une certaine mesure parce qu'ils gagnent les élections. Mais en réalité, nos gouvernants ne sont pas à la hauteur des enjeux de ce pays. Parce que c'est bien d'emprunter 200 milliards, de faire un emprunt obligataire. Mais en termes de gestion, dans quelques mois, vous entendez parler de scandales concernant cet argent. C'est ça qui est embarrassant.
Mais pourquoi la question c'est pourquoi ils continuent, les dirigeants, nous dirigeants continuent d'utiliser l'argent du contribuable comme ça. Qu'est-ce qui est le problème? C'est manque de patriotisme ou quoi?
Tout à fait, c'est dans leur gêne de faire les choses de façon négative. Quand vous suivez l'actualité nationale, que vous regardez les réalisations du gouvernement, vous constaterez qu'il y a beaucoup de gens qui détournent. C'est pour ça que le président de la République envoie un certain nombre de ses collaborateurs en prison. Et le problème, c'est qu'il n'envoie pas trop. C'est peut-être 2% de ceux qui sont censés être dans les prisons. Donc ce régime ne peut pas fonctionner autrement. Son ADN, c'est faire exactement ce que les Camerounais ne veulent pas. C'est exactement d'empêcher le vrai développement de notre pays. C'est très embarrassant parce que il y a des dégâts collatéraux. Vous voyez l'état de nos routes. Mais il y a des péages qu'on paye. Il y a un certain nombre de moyens financiers qui sont disponibles. Mais on voit que le pays est confronté au même problème. Et c'est très, très embarrassant.
Mr. Bona, when you look at Konak, should Konak really exist? Is Konak really doing the job that it's supposed to do when it comes to fighting corruption?
It's a gadget. Because everybody knows that Konak don't have much power to fight against corruption.
When you talk power, you mean power to enforce its
Yes,
decision, because Konak has to finish findings and then deposit in one office at the presidency for President Paul Biya to act on. Are you saying that Konak should be empowered to sanction corrupt individuals?
Yes, you can't be in charge of a fight against corruption and then you don't have the power to sanction the corrupt people. It's very funny.
But when you look at the budget of Konak, is it not also another problem? What the president of Konak or the person in charge of Konak, he earns a salary, and salaries of, members of Konak, is it not also a problem that maybe they don't want corruption to end because they are also feeding fat on the fight against corruption?
Non, le vrai problème, c'est qu'il n'y a pas de volonté politique pour lutter contre la corruption. J'étais à une réunion de l'ECAM hier à Bali, dans le cadre d'une rencontre avec les acteurs du processus électoral. Mais l'ECAM est confronté au problème de la Konak. Et l'ECAM a un budget annuel de 11 milliards. Mais ils disent qu'ils ne perçoivent même pas le tiers. Vous croyez que la Konak perçoit le tiers de ce qu'elle est censée percevoir pour se mouvoir, pour aller investiguer et tout ça? Ce n'est pas possible.
Qui mange l'argent resté alors où?
C'est le ministre des Finances qui est censé approvisionner ces deux institutions-là. Ça démontre à quel niveau on ne veut pas que les choses soient faites dans les règles de l'art. Vous voyez, quand vous êtes sur le terrain avec les camps, vous constatez que ce sont les partis politiques qui essaient d'accompagner un tout petit peu. Mais ce n'est pas notre rôle.
Mais pourquoi les camps continuent toujours, comme les gens disent, supporter le RDPC?
Non, bon, là, c'est pas... moi-même, je leur reproche un certain nombre de choses. Mais je crois que le problème, c'est qu'il n'y a pas de volonté politique pour inscrire les Camerounais, tout comme il n'y a pas de volonté politique pour lutter contre la corruption. Vous ne pouvez pas me charger d'investiguer et de trouver des compatriotes qui sont corrompus. Et puis, moi, je n'ai pas de pouvoir de les sanctionner. Je dois vous transmettre le dossier. Imaginez le nombre de dossiers que la CONAC transmet au président de la République, entre autres de ses collaborateurs. Mais quand vous constatez sur le terrain, est-ce qu'il y a une réelle lutte contre la corruption? Tout le monde sait que pour aller dans une mairie, par exemple, si vous voulez avoir une pièce, on vous met la pression. Tant que vous ne payez pas, vous ne l'obtenez pas. Tout le monde voit la corruption dans nos rues. Donc, elle est partout. C'est une espèce de sport national.
The Constitution is an institution in Cameroon.
It's a national sport.
Maître Alex, Maître Alex, Mr. Bona said that corruption is a discipline in Cameroon, but we don't want us to continue talking about that. Let's talk about this letter by President Paul Biya to his Ukrainian counterpart. President Paul Biya, who refused to vote in favor of the withdrawal of Russia invasion of Ukraine recently, and President Paul Biya is writing to pray for peace to return in Ukraine. And the Guardian Post newspaper is talking about that letter this morning, Maitre Alex.
I believe, Mr. Lasha, I would like to make it again clear when I come on this program as a leader of British Cameroon National Party. I'm here to exercise my political opinion. It's nothing personal. And I would like to say that what they're talking about, Mr. Paul Biya, is a storm in a cup of tea. Mr. Biya is not part of the Security Council. Mr. Biya is not China. It's not France. It's not Russia. It's not United Kingdom, Great Britain, and Northern Ireland. It's not part of it. So when we sit, we write things on newspaper, Mr. Biya is playing the tortoise. That's a wrong headline. When you're writing for people to read certain things in the newspaper, you're writing to educate people. We have seen what happened to Libya. Mr. Biya have never opened his mouth. What happened in Iraq? Mr. Biya is quiet. Beside Central African Republic, we have issue. Mr. Biya have never talked. Congo, Mr. Biya have never talked. I don't know, when did Mr. Biya start talking? It doesn't concern Mr. Biya. He's toothless bulldog. The CPDM, they have no power. The only president in Africa, if I can recall, who was powerful when it comes to international relationship is Idi Amin Dada. When he hijacked a plane because of these Palestinian terrorists and what, you know, the Ettenberg raid, what happened with Israel. The other president in Africa, they just sit. They just sit there, they have no power. As I said previously on your program, they are kudus and governor for Western countries. When they call them in China, they rush there. They call them in Europe, they rush there. They call them in America, they go there like schoolboys. So we should not take papers to try to uplift the PDM president of who is Mr. Biya. Mr. Biya haven't got a say. So he's writing a letter. And there's something that they say in English. They say, where you can use common sense, don't try to use God, because he's praying for peace. You don't pray for peace, you work for peace. You engage with people, you leave A to D. You go like Boris Johnson to Ukraine, meet the president, talk to the president. Don't sit in A to D, you write a letter. Those days that we used to write love letters are gone. Today we need active people. Mr. Biya should leave A to D, go to Ukraine, leave A to D, go to Russia and talk with these people. That's why you are a president. And I will remind Mr. Biya, the president of La République du Cameroun, you should read your constitution. You should know the function of the president. You don't delegate all powers to people forever. We don't see you. We want to meet you in the street. We want to see you in the marketplaces. We want to see you in the office, meeting your citizens. And once you cannot meet them, Mr. Biya, your constitution says it clearly, you are incapacitated. People are using you as a trademark to run the country. Mr. Biya, you're lucky to be up to 90 years old. I wish I should get to your age. But sometime, when something don't pass, you leave and Mr. Biya.
Maitre Alex, Municipal Updates newspaper is talking about from Mukete the 4th Ekoko this morning, what he has been doing for his people for the past 2 years. And apparently you have a problem with this particular headline.
Yeah, the issue issue I have a problem is that, well, I should first say I met the current von Mukete in the UK here. Is it up to 2 weeks? He's a lovely man. I like people who talk. He answers questions. He engages. I love him in that. But the headline says he's following his father's footsteps. Let's look at the father's footsteps. The father was Minister of Information in Nigeria in 1958 to 1959. He died as a senator in April 10, is it 2018 as a senator. Somebody who was minister in 1958 until 2018, sorry, let me correct that date. He passed away. So what legacy is that? This is the legacy that von Mukete have left for us. He failed to negotiate an equal status in Forba. So he's following his father's status, failure. He failed to stop centralization when they changed the federal form of government. So he's following his father's footsteps, failure. He failed to fight for the gypsy port that Mr. Forba promised and he went for, following his father's footsteps, failure. He failed to stop Mr. Bia and Aijo to destroy Tico RAF, Tico International Airport, and other things, Cameroon Bank, Wadaum. So he's following failure. That's what he said. I don't see any nice or good thing that von Mukete have done. Who is a traditional ruler? Von Mukete was a traditional ruler. I'm not a fan of traditional rulers who mix politics with traditional rulers. Traditional rulers, they are custodians of our tradition, our history, our custom of ethnic groups and individual rule. So when you mix politics with tradition, I tell you it's obsolete. We don't need traditional rulers in some part of Cameroon at the moment. Because if you look at Kumba got a population of about 400,000 people. He's one of the Bafo people, which Bafo is made up of, 10 clans. The Bafo people are minority. So is he running Kumba as a DO or SDO or governor? So at the point of time, sometimes when you see this traditional ruler, they don't have any use. They are using their position for political purpose, and government is using them to divide our society. Some parts of Cameroon still need traditional rulers like Forba. They follow their custom. But again, Bomotonguina was part of the politics. That's why I disagree with them. You see the fund of Son today, they have transferred the palace to Yaoundé. Fund of Ba, they have transferred the palace to Yaoundé. It tells you that people don't need you anymore. France used to have monarchy. Sometimes in life, people change. Tradition evolve. We have reached that stage that we don't need traditional rulers anymore. In some part of Cameroon, not every part. Once as traditional rulers, they are it is interwoven between administrators or politicians. Then it means that we don't need you anymore. If traditional ruler like Prime Minister John Gute, whom I respect a lot, he wants to be a prime minister, you're dividing your people. Because once as you become a politician, politics is about division. It's about opinion. A traditional ruler is somebody who has to unite his people, maintain the custom and tradition. And we have most traditional rulers in Cameroon today. They live abroad. They are not in Cameroon. So why are we encouraging this thing? When we talk about one and indivisible, but we look at the policies of the government, is to what? To divide us. So there are places today in the Cameroons that I would say we don't need traditional rulers, some places. Some we need them. And with time, we will get rid of it because traditional rulers, if we look at them, they were the people who were running our country. If you go and study method of social science, we study this, Bafut culture, we have the Manjong, we have all those things. These are the people before. These enemies who came and colonized us and treated us as slaves and promoted apartheid. Before they came there, traditional rulers were the rulers like Mr. Bia, who is ruling us today. But today, they are no longer the rulers. Today, they are being appointed by a Tanganji, which tells you that they have lost that value, they are not in that position anymore. We should dissolve some of it. Gradually, they have to go. If they want to do politics, they should come and do it like myself. So it is time to say adieu, goodbye to traditional rulers.
Okay, Maitre Alex, I'm back in the studio. Let's meet Bona once again. Bona, we are talking about land scandal of land titles in Bonadibon here in Douala, and you are part of the people who have investigated that issue. And you are here today to talk about it, and your newspaper is focusing on that. Glwadys, maybe I'll give you the microphone.
Effectivement, on parle du scandale de titres fonciers dans cette partie du Cameroun. Qu'est-ce que vous avez à dire peut-être aux téléspectateurs pour qu'ils puissent mieux comprendre de quoi il est question?
Alors, pour bien comprendre le scandale foncier de Bonadibo, il faut savoir qu'en 1994, l'ex-gare ferroviaire de Douala a été transférée à Bissengue. Elle était située, pour ceux qui habitent Douala, sur le site du siège du Ngondo, et là où se trouve la tribune pour les parades militaires et civiles qu'on appelle la place de Bissengue. Alors, qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? Dans les années 20, la France a voulu construire une gare à cet endroit et elle a exproprié la communauté Bonadibo, une superficie de plus de 12 hectares. Et ce qui est bien, c'est qu'à l'époque, le ministre des colonies a fait une correspondance adressée à la communauté Bonadibo, entre guillemets les indigènes, c'est comme ça qu'ils nous appelaient en ce temps-là. Et cette correspondance disait précisément une seule chose. Que lorsque le site, si jamais la gare de Douala partait de ce site, était délocalisée ailleurs, il fallait remettre ces terres et tous les investissements qui ont été faits dessus à la communauté Bonadibo. À partir de 1995, la communauté Bonadibo a entamé un certain nombre de procédures. Elle a pris langue avec la préfecture, la sous-préfecture, le gouverneur et écrit 3 fois au président de la République. En 1996, le président de la République a fait un décret présidentiel interdisant les ventes de terrain sur un certain nombre d'espaces dans l'arrondissement de Douala 1er, notamment sur ce site-là. Mais qu'est-ce qu'on constate, c'est que si vous y allez, le Ngondo a obtenu 5 000 m² dessus. Un certain nombre de compatriotes qui sont pour certains des ministres, des administrateurs, des autorités administratives, des hommes d'affaires, des officiers supérieurs de notre armée et d'autres compatriotes ont obtenu des titres fonciers sur ce site. Et
c'est quoi le problème?
Oui, le plus grave, c'est que jusqu'au moment où je vous parle, la communauté Bonadibo n'est pas en possession de ces terres ancestrales. Parce que si les colons, entre guillemets, ont fait une correspondance pour dire que si jamais ils partaient de cet endroit, ils allaient remettre ce site-là à la communauté Bonadibo. Nos frères, ceux qui dirigent ce pays, doivent premièrement faire cela. Parce que au moment où la communauté Bonadibo a été expropriée, elle n'a reçu aucun copec, aucun lopin.
Elle n'a pas été indemnisée.
Voilà, elle n'a pas été... elle n'a pas reçu une compensation des terres ailleurs. Donc, voyez-vous, nous sommes dans un cas d'injustice, de violation des lois de notre République, parce que les lois disent que si on vous exproprie pour utilité publique, le jour où cette utilité publique s'arrête, on vous restitue vos terres, parce que ça doit retourner dans votre patrimoine, puisque ce n'est plus dans le patrimoine de l'État. Donc, les populations de Bonadibo ont organisé plusieurs marches. La dernière, c'était il y a quelques semaines, pour revendiquer cette terre. Et nous sommes allés jusqu'au site. Nous nous sommes arrêtés à l'Escan, Régie Fécam. Pendant que nous y étions, pour sensibiliser l'opinion publique et poser un certain nombre de pancartes, la police est arrivée et elle a interrompu la marche de revendication. Mais je dois dire que ce n'est pas normal que des gens qui dirigent un pays, qui sont censés promouvoir la justice, qui sont censés faire respecter les lois de la République qui dirigent, se retrouvent en train d'obtenir des titres fonciers dans une parcelle qui appartient à une communauté. Vous voyez, moi, quand j'ai 52 ans depuis quelques mois, tout petit, je voyais des communautés ici, dans cette ville, donner des terrains aux enfants qui avaient un certain âge. Mais il n'y a plus de terre pour les jeunes qui sont nés depuis peut-être 30 ans. c'est un problème parce que en réalité, c'est un problème très important.
Donc, au jour d'aujourd'hui, qu'est-ce qu'il y a lieu de faire pour pallier à ce problème?
Non, il faut plus de justice dans ce pays parce que, voyez-vous, si vous êtes dans une famille et que, par exemple, votre papa a laissé des biens,
oui.
Si vous êtes 10 et que votre papa a laissé, je prends un exemple, 10 terrains, chacun doit avoir un seul terrain.
Mais est-ce que vous avez des avocats qui travaillent
Oui,
avec
les procédures sont là, elles sont pendantes, mais moi je ne peux pas les commenter parce que ce n'est pas de mon domaine. Je suis petit-fils Bonadibon parce que ma grand-mère était de la famille Bonadica. Voilà.
Donc au jour d'aujourd'hui, la seule chose que vous voulez, c'est qu'on vous remette vos terres ou qu'on vous indemnise.
Non, qu'on nous remette des terres. Le problème, c'est pas...
Et ces dirigeants, ces administrateurs qui ont déjà acquis des titres fonciers sur cette terre, qu'est-ce qu'ils doivent faire? Abandonner leur domicile ou bien? Qu'est-ce qui doit se passer?
Non, la loi a été violée. Puisque la terre appartient... Je vous ai dit qu'il y a une correspondance qui disait qu'il fallait restituer ces terres ancestrales au Bonadibo. Ça n'a jamais été fait, mais il faut le faire. Ils viennent obtenir des titres fonciers alors qu'ils sont au courant de tout ce que la communauté Bonadibo a entrepris depuis 1994. Mais qui leur a donné les titres fonciers?
Qui leur a vendu les terres?
Mais vous savez comment la mafia se passe dans notre pays. Ceux qui dirigent instrumentalisent l'État à leur fin personnelle et pour leurs intérêts. Donc nous avons vu les gens obtenir des titres fonciers. Nous avons un certain nombre de documents dans Actu Info News de l'État. Nous avons produit un certain nombre de documents. La communauté Bonadibo sait exactement qui a acheté ou obtenu un titre foncier dans cette parcelle, qui est de plus de 12 hectares. Donc, elle a entrepris un certain nombre de démarches officielles et officieuses pour que justice lui soit rendue. Je crois que nous allons tout simplement attendre que tout ça aboutisse. Mais le problème, c'est qu'en attendant...
Mais c'est comme les administrateurs, le gouverneur et les autres, ils sont impliqués.
Bon, moi, je ne cite aucun nom, ce n'est pas de mon ressort.
Mais selon votre
si vous faites des investigations, vous
non, selon ce que vous avez découvert, qu'est-ce qui... Don't you... Are there no names of people who call... Because it was like there was that lack of communication between the senior divisional officer, Benjamin Butu, and the governor. The governor saying one thing and the SEO who authorized that the people be sent away.
That concerning the Dikolo case.
Yes.
Yes, but the Bonadibon case is not the same thing. I'm saying that since I think less than 1 century ago,
yes,
the Bonadibon community were expropriated at the place where you have the, comment on appelle ça, the tribune officielle de Beseke, la place de Beseke.
Yes.
Was the...
You have march pass and other tribune.
After expropriating...
they didn't pay them, they didn't pay indemnities and everything, up to today?
Nothing.
Okay.
Even land to go and stay
settle them, they have not given them up to today?
No, not at all.
Okay.
And then after the expropriation, they make a letter saying that...
So what is prompting you people to talk about it now, 1 century after?
Because since 1994, when the
train station,
was transferred to Besenge, the community started to have back the land. Nous avons constaté qu'un certain nombre de dossiers ont disparu.
Okay.
La communauté a voulu immatriculer ce terrain.
Okay.
La procédure a été enclenchée au niveau de la sous-préfecture de Douala 1er.
So where are you guys at now? Where are you guys? Because the way forward is what is important. Where are you guys now with the issue of government paying indemnities and settling people that were supposed to be settled?
Non, nous ne demandons pas les indemnisations. Nous demandons qu'on nous rétrocède la terre qui nous appartient, parce que c'est une décision qui a été prise par le colon. Alors, ceux qui ont pris la relève du colon ne peuvent pas faire pire que ça, puisque le colon, ils nous ont expropriés.
Okay.
Ils ont dit, ok, le jour où on part de là, on vous remet vos terres, mais il faut restituer les terres aux ayants droit, tout simplement.
Okay. Maître Alex, we are talking about this land issue in Douala here, and you've been very bitter when it comes to land expropriation, and this morning we have one of the victims, let me put it that way.
Yes, I'm a victim.
One of the victims with us in the studio, a member of that community here in Douala, whose lands were taken away.
Yeah, you're talking about it. I'm somebody that my land in Boya was taken by somebody who works in the Cameroon government, Ajudan Genti. He is there, he went on my land, and he constructed on my land. That land was bought, I inherited it from my mom in 1974. So until today, that is a criminal activity. And when you allow people, the point is, the people causing this corruption are these GOs, governors, or what? They are the problem. And when we have people that they are not accountable, we go back, we look at our constitution, there's no checks and balances. I was there sometime in Boya. Somebody who came and claimed the land was bought from a certain Chief Molombe. I have all the documents with me here. And you see somebody still come and construct on your land. The son, who was an old man, an ex-military man, complained. I was there in Boya with the Geo. And he said, oh, they have got some document. When I removed my document, he ran. He said, this is in Douala. The document was signed by what? Former governor of Boya, Fosi Yakunto. All my neighbors, they sign around the document. Physical stamp is there, everything, original document. Today, I want to construct on my land. I cannot, because you have to go through due process. You have to go to this office. We have to simplify things. And I will say it quite clearly, the corrupt people who are causing this problem because they want to make money are the civil servant politicians like the governors, the DOs, the SDOs. They're the problem. It's not the people. People will give them some little money, whether it's 40%, you put it in your pocket. The government knows about that. It is not strange. Everybody knows about these things. And it's high time that people like myself will be buying cameras, will give individuals, will put these hidden cameras. We take pictures and put it on YouTube. Because if the government cannot solve this problem, we as a citizen, we have a right to solve it. Because it's a criminal offense. And when you take these things to the authority, they look at the names who have taken bribes, so it doesn't go anywhere. It is difficult to fight it. It goes round and round and round. It's important that we have a society where there's checks and balances, where the judiciary should be independent, where the legislature will be independent, where the executive is independent. But when one person, an all-powerful governor, GO, SDO, who are unelected, when they sit there, they do what they are doing. That's why we have this problem. And they have reduced our citizens, the people who are sovereign, the people who are most important in the country, they are like zombies. So when they see somebody like Maitre Alex Desinge talking, oh, you're scared, they will kill you. Why should you kill me for pointing a wrong? If you kill me, you don't kill my ideology. The idea will always remain there. And this land issue must be taken very, very seriously. We have the solution. I have the experience. The United Kingdom used to have the same problem, but in 1925, they brought something called Torata Act, that they have to make sure that all the lands should be registered. Before, in order for you to prove in the UK that you own a land, you have to go from time immemorial. Somebody have to say, I remember your great-grandfather used to own this land. So it was still okay. But however, today, in the UK, we have what we call the land registry. Anybody can go there and see who owns this land. Is it Mr. Lasha? Is it Glwadys? Or is it Mr. Tebong? It is open to everybody. It's open to the public. So nobody can sell somebody's land. The government, has they got the will to do that? Do they want to use people who have the knowledge to do it? That is the question. Sometimes the government of the Cameroon promote corruption.
That is the question,
it is your own relative. It is your own brother. So you don't want to allow the system to change. Is it because our civil servants, they are not well paid? I don't know why. Because sometimes the government might want to put this leeway of corruption for them to top up their salary. Maybe that's what is happening in the Cameroon. We have to look into these things. When you go to power, you go there to better the life of our people. You don't go there to make money. You don't go there to build mansion. When you help people in your life, you have more joy than to build a mansion or borehole for yourself and you expose your world. Show your big cars, your Ferrari, a country where we have all the luxury but we cannot manufacture those things. I'm looking forward for the day that we have to have technology and start producing our own things in our beloved land.
Thank you, Maitre Alex. Thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you to Sabona for coming. Yeah, last word, vividly, 30 seconds. We don't have time.
Mon dernier mot, c'est que je voudrais inviter vos téléspectateurs qui résident à Douala à ce que nous appelons les causeries éducatives du vendredi. C'est un rendez-vous trimestriel avec notre passé, notre présent et notre futur. Nous célébrons nos personnages historiques. Le 6 mai dernier, c'était Rodolphe Douala Mangabel. Ce soir, ce sera Ruben Mounobé avec la projection d'un film documentaire. Et également, avant ça, on aura la naissance du canton Aqua. Nous allons terminer par des débats parce que nous pensons qu'il faut connaître notre histoire, il faut échanger entre nous pour voir quelles perspectives mettre en place pour le futur.
Ok, thank you.
Je voudrais inviter vos téléspectateurs qui habitent à Douala d'être en face du palais d'Ikakwa ce soir à partir de 18h. Je voudrais dire merci à vous et à votre média de nous accompagner souvent dans ce que nous faisons.
Thank you very much. Thank you to televiewers of Media Prime for watching this other edition of the program, which was produced for us by Akeba, Desmond. We have been Glwadys, Bomotonguina, and myself, Lasha Kingsley. See you on Monday. Bye-bye.